Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big ideas. Today we're diving into a word that strikes fear into the heart of pretty much any business out there: churn.
Yeah, this quote from Shane Parrish, it really captures the classic view, right? Churn is the bad guy. It's this constant, slow leak that's always draining away your customers, your best people, your momentum. It's like you're on a treadmill, running as fast as you can just to stay put.
But what if that's not the whole story? I mean, what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if churn isn't the enemy? What if it's just a force of nature? Or, and stick with me here, what if it's actually a tool you can use? Okay, so before we get to the tool part, we gotta understand why it has this reputation as a silent killer. And to do that, we need to get the definition right, because it's way bigger than you might think.
So here's the first big shift in thinking. Churn isn't some kind of business disease. It's a basic property of, well, everything that's alive and changing. Your own body is churning out cells right now. A forest churns trees. So the question isn't, do you have churn? Because the answer is always yes. The real question is, how fast is your churn?
And to really get a handle on that, we need a good mental model. And honestly, the best one out there is super simple: the leaking bathtub.
Okay, picture it. Your company, your team, your customer base, it's a bathtub. The water level, that's your stock, the total number of customers or employees you have at any given moment. The faucet, the tap, that's your inflow, all the new hires, all the new sales. And the drain, yep, you guessed it, that's churn, the outflow. And right there, that simple picture tells you everything. If you want the water level to rise, you've only got two choices: turn the tap on full blast or find a way to plug that drain.
And this logic plays out in four basic ways. You can see it here. If your inflow is greater than your outflow, hey, you're growing. The water level is rising. If they're equal, you're in a steady state, treading water. But if that outflow starts to beat the inflow, you're in decline. And if the drain is wide open and the tap is just a drip, well, that's collapse. It's that simple. And it's a super powerful way to diagnose the health of pretty much any system you can think of.
Now this is where things get a little scary. This is where we see why that silent killer label sticks. Because churn doesn't work in a straight line. It works exponentially. The best way to think about this is using the idea of a half-life, just like in physics with radioactive decay. For any stock you have, your customers, your team's knowledge, there is a certain amount of time it will take for half of it to churn away. Gone. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. These are real numbers from the real world. You run a SaaS business, you could lose half your subscribers in just a couple of years. Are you a software engineer? The stuff you know right now, your core technical skills, has a half-life of about 2.5 years. It's wild. This decay is happening all the time, right under our noses, and it's usually way faster than we imagine. This is where it gets really stark. Look at the power of compounding. You might think, 5% churn, 10% churn, what's the big difference? Well, year to year, maybe not much, but stretch that out over 20 years. At 5% churn, you still have over a third of your original group. At 10%, you're down to just 12%. And at 20%, forget about it. You have basically 1% left. Your original base is gone. It's the perfect example of how small leaks really do sink big ships.
Okay, so the math is terrifying. We get it. But this is so important. Churn is not just about numbers in a spreadsheet. It's about losing the invisible stuff, the connective tissue that actually makes a company work.
We have to think bigger. It's not just about a customer leaving. It's about knowledge being forgotten. Every single time a person walks out the door, they take a piece of the company's memory with them. You know, that, oh yeah, we tried that 3 years ago and here's the landmine you're about to step on kind of knowledge. Poof, gone.
And it's about trust eroding. Trust is what makes a team go fast. It's built up over thousands of little interactions. But every time someone leaves, all that trust, that relational capital they had with the team, it's gone. Reset to zero. And suddenly, everything gets slower. You need more meetings to make a decision. People get more guarded. The whole system just gets sticky.
And believe it or not, your company culture has a half-life too. Culture isn't what's written on the walls, it's what's lived by the people walking the halls. And when those key people, you know, the ones who just get it, the culture carriers, when they leave, the signal gets weaker. The company's identity starts to fade and drift. So what do you do about all this? Well, there are two main approaches. The
The first is what most companies do. They try to be churn resistant. They build walls, they use lock-in contracts and high switching costs to make it painful for you to leave. It's a fragile strategy. The smarter way, be churn resilient. You weave nets, you spread knowledge around, you cross-train people so that if any one person leaves, the whole thing doesn't fall apart. It's a much more robust way to operate.
All right, so we've seen the dark side of churn. It's scary. But here's where we're going to flip the whole idea on its head. What if fighting it, building walls, plugging the drain, what if that's the wrong game entirely? What if you could harness that flow?
Look, if churn is a natural force, like a river, trying to dam it up is exhausting and probably doomed to fail. So the really powerful question becomes, if you can't stop the river, how can you use its current to your advantage? And this leads us to this amazing idea of strategic churn. This is where you actually use churn as a tool. Think about it. Letting go of those nightmare customers who take up 80% of your support time, that frees you up to serve your best customers. Allowing a disengaged employee to move on, that opens up a spot for someone with fresh energy. You can even use natural attrition to restructure without having to do layoffs. Suddenly, churn isn't a problem to be solved, it's a tool for renewal.
And there's this incredible real-life story that shows this in action. Back in 1935, a group of brilliant French mathematicians who called themselves Bourbaki decided they were going to rewrite all of mathematics from the ground up. An insane goal. And they had one secret weapon, one revolutionary rule, and it was all about churn.
The rule was simple. Everyone was forced to retire from the group at age 50. That's it, no exceptions. By literally building churn into their system, they guaranteed a constant flow of new blood, new ideas, and fresh thinking. It kept them from getting stale, and it's why they stayed at the absolute peak of their field for decades.
So when you see it this way, churn stops being just a metric to push down. It becomes a process of renewal. It's like a forest fire clearing out the underbrush so new things can grow. So the question I want to leave you with isn't the old one, how do we reduce our churn rate? The new, more powerful question is this: what in your life, in your team, in your company, needs to churn to make way for something better?